Good evening, Zambia. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are, joining me this evening. This is Frank Saliki. This is TV Makwetu. And, well, the drama continues. So, as most of you know, Mr. Lusambo and Mr. Malanji, Mr. Bowman Lusambo and Mr. Joseph Malanji have taken the matter to court because they think they're being unfairly treated. They think it's against the law that they are not allowed to stand in the election. I think this is a very important point. When people become lawmakers, why do they make the law? Why do we change the law? You change the law to make it better for the citizens of that country. You make it better. That's why you are elected. You go and you change the law to make it better for the people that are living in that country. What we've got here is people were involved in changing a law so that the law will benefit them. But then the very self-law that they helped created is blocking them. The same law that they helped create is blocking them. I think it's important to note, this is not a law that was introduced by the Hakainde Hichilema government. This was not a law that was introduced by the MMD government. This was a law that was introduced by the Patriotic Front themselves. And I remember Dr. Elias Muncha going on, he did a whole program about this. He said, just because somebody has got no qualification, that should not disqualify them from standing as an MP. We spoke about this and we said, this is not a good law. This is against the people of Zambia. This discriminates against people who are not educated. We made this point here on TV Bakwetu. We said, just because somebody hasn't got a grade 12 certificate does not mean that they cannot function as a member of parliament. We said. We did a few programs about this before this legislation was put into place. And this was pointed out by Dr. Elias Muncha. So this is what's going to happen. It's going to disqualify a lot of people who wanted to stand but cannot stand. Now we've got a member of parliament, we've got a member of parliament who was involved in making this law, who supported this law, knowing full well that he did not have the qualification that was necessary. He knew he did not have these qualifications. Now, for me, Mr. Malanji, okay, just for me, it's very confusing. So why did Mr. Malanji, why did he not tell his friends and say, listen, guys, I haven't got my certificate. I don't know, he could have come up with a lie or whatever. Certificate yandi alilwa na headmaster value for. I don't know. He could have come up with something. certificate yandi alipo na headmaster kusukuru na ile ba alifwa so shakwanda kwa send the certificate ka. But then he approved it. He supported this. And his argument after his after he was rejected the other day, his argument was, these are the same papers that I submitted. These are the same papers I submitted in 2017, in 2016. Yes, sir, that was before you changed the law. In 2015, it was okay. Yeah? In 2016, it was okay. But after 2016, we changed the law. So the argument the PF are trying to make now is that we're being stopped from standing in the two by-elections. They're not being stopped from standing. Okay? Let's get this right. The PF are not being stopped from standing. They're trying to make it up. They're trying to make it sound like there's an order from the president that says make sure the PF do not stand. The PF are not being stopped from standing. No one is being stopped from standing. The two people in the PF who they want to stand, those are two people who are not qualified to stand. Those two people are not qualified to stand. Okay? There's not been a ruling out there saying PF cannot stand. What the Patriotic Front can do is to go and find two candidates who are eligible. It's go and find a candidate to stand in Kwacha constituency who's got a grade 12 certificate. Why is this dragging on? It's because Mr. Malanji has failed to prove he's got a grade 12 certificate. Inenga Masanji push out Wadikwata high school certificate. I don't have to look very far. Nala lolesha fiokun naimon and a certificate yand. If we tell you, if I ask you, where's your certificate? Why do you issue a certificate here, Nokoyaba? If you go and look for a job tomorrow, and should now got a grade 12 certificate, if you are very organized, like a lot of us, you'll have these things in the file because it's so important, and you say, here's my grade 12 certificate. So instead of Mr. Malanji dragging everything to court, wasting taxpayers' money, sir, why don't you just produce the grade 12 certificate? For me, any grade 12 certificate, doing money. Eh? Possible now. Chancellor Chombaisha, is it possible now for PF to look for other candidates? Probably probably not. Probably not. It sounds to me like it's really a cry. It's a cry of a dying horse, isn't it? It's a cry of a dying horse. Because if there was organization and if it was a political party that was organized, those are the things that they would have looked at. They would have said, who are our candidates? Ngabali beta bonsat imwe candidate bes isen mwikale hapa. Ushabon say nam kwa down grade 12 certificate. Eh? Once ago, it's about isen mwikale hapa. Ushabon kwa down grade 12 certificate. And by the time the law was in, they were planning to introduce that law. Nish divide them could I'm a GCE. Nish divide not to pange law. Ilo to a panga. Ilelanda tinga shkwete grade 12 certificate. Tetin Jiminine. So naram kulembama GCE wangu. But it's just the arrogance. It's the arrogance. If PF won the election, Malanji will be an MP. It would not matter because they would have all the people in there. So this law was there to make sure that the opposition, some of the people the opposition may have adopted, right? Some of the people that the opposition might have adopted could not stand, but their people could stand. Well, baby Rufus, fancy Frank Sadiki to speak Bemba. But Ruf naikosa pazedi naikosa lelo. So they created this law to make sure that the opposition candidate can stand, whilst they were getting their own candidates to stand. And then what happened when they lost the election? There was a change of the guards, wasn't it? There was a change of the guards. The people who came into the people who are at ECZ now, they were answering to new masters, and they had to follow the law. They had to follow the rules. So, Mr. Malanji, Joseph Malanji, nangupari ule umfwa uwabeshwa Joseph Malanji akayebeba ati amdala lekeni kuona ole mpia sha chalo ififi akuya kukoti filia unala fi mpia ya chalo fumieni fi grade 12 certificate mubalange ba ECZ jet iyi ni grade 12 certificate yandi nalikwata fipwe tapari nefi akwira kukoti hapa tapari nefi akwira kukoti patumwe mwalandira ati uli onse ulefoyo kwiminina afuire okukwata grade 12 certificate. So ba Joseph Malanji grade 12 certificate yenu ilikuisa. Did the presiding officer say grade 12 certificate was not produced? I think it's the matter of not producing it in court when he has organized was that ECZ wouldn't have allowed him to stand. So whether he produced it now, the verdict had already been made. Well, the verdict was made, and you're quite correct there, you're very correct there. The verdict was made. So the question is, when he went and appealed, let's remember this, he appealed. So when the election was nullified and they were told not to go to parliament, he appealed. So his election was nullified because he hasn't got a grade 12 certificate. So he appealed and he went to court the second time. But then still, why did he not take the grade 12 certificate? And I think if he took this grade 12 certificate to court the second time, that would not have been refused. So he appealed the case, but then doesn't bother to get the grade 12 certificate to court with him. What is the point? What is the point of even appealing? If you're saying that is not true, you're saying that is not true, I haven't got a grade 12 certificate because I have. So I'm going to appeal. And I'm going to appeal, right? I'm going to appeal by showing the grade 12 certificate or by writing to the Examination Council of Zambia or whatever board you wrote the exam with. I wrote the exam this year and my examination number is this and my certificate is lost. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. It's just crazy. Whatever way you look at it, the whole saga is absolutely crazy. Now we got the case of Mr. Lusambo. Mwisho. Now, there's been debate about the law on this. Other people have been saying, well, nullification of election does not really count. But there's a key phrase in the article, isn't it? There's a key phrase: whoever causes a seat to be vacant, whoever causes a seat to be vacant can't stand. Whoever causes a seat to be vacant cannot stand in that year. Remember when Mr. Chimbakambwili was kicked out of PF? He could not stand. He went and supported someone else on the wrong seat because he could not stand. He caused that seat to be vacant. And whether his elections were nullified, you have to remember he went to Parliament, and that seat became vacant with him serving as an MP. So he caused that seat to be vacant. He caused that seat to be vacant. Now, this again was another ploy that the PF were using. Find charges against somebody who's in opposition, so they lose their seat, so then that they can't stand, so that their candidate is a lot stronger. What has happened here is simply the PF has been trapped by the trap that they set. Right? The PF has been trapped by the trap that they set. It's almost like Munganda Mwobe. Wasabi killer. You set a trap for a kakoswe. They're stuck in there. This is exactly what is happening here. For me, what frustrates me the lot is what a lot of Zambian people need to understand is that all these court cases requires resources. ECZ as a government body has to pay for lawyers. They're paying on your taxpayers' money. That's taxpayers' money being spent. The judges spending time, people are looking at those cases, everybody, so many resources in, that's taxpayers' money. Okay, that's just taxpayers' money. So when you look at the whole saga, this debacle, this was something that the PF laid. This is a foundation that the PF laid. This was a trap against the UPND. It all started with Bill 10. Bill 10 was all about giving the president a lot more power. Bill 10 was all about holding on to power as long as they could. But so many people saw through that. Now, they used another law. They pushed through another law. Like I said at the beginning, Dr. Elias Musha said, this is not right. This is not right. It does not mean if anybody hasn't got a higher education certificate, they cannot stand as an MP. This is not right. We argued on this on TV Bakwetu. We said, just because somebody who lives in Impika or Shangombo or Chavuma or Mwinilunga in the little village, but has got great ideas and they can't stand because they haven't got a grade 12 certificate. We said, this is just so un-Zambian. This is so unfair. And if the new Dawn government, anyone is listening, this law has to be changed. We don't want, it doesn't mean if somebody hasn't got degrees and PhDs that they can't be an MP. It doesn't mean that they can't care after their own people. It doesn't mean they can't look after their own. It doesn't mean they can't have an idea. In fact, those people who live in the villages know exactly what those villages need, and it should be encouraged. We can't have people who live in the town center, who live in the cities, going back to villages that they've never been to. Like, who do they give? There's a little village in Western Province. Who did they give them? You know, the way they sometimes treat these rural areas. Guess who they gave them? They gave them, what's her name? Kayingu girl, Iris Kayingu. They gave him Iris. It's like, Iris, this is gonna be. You can go and stand as an MP there. She's never been there. Never spoke. Hardly speaks a word of Lawsy. Hardly knows what actually goes on in there. Knows nothing about what the locals need. And everyone was just them. They were just like, you go there. We'll put you there. You will put you there. You will put you there. What do you know? It doesn't matter what you knew. It was all about who you know. It did not matter who you know. It doesn't matter who you know. Let's Chancellor Chomba says, yes, Mr. Saliki, the point is whoever causes a vacant is not eligible to stand according to Article 72, sub 4. Did Malanji and Bowman cause a vacant? Yes, he says. And yes, that's the answer. They caused a vacant. It's the two people who caused the vacant. And you have to ask, what did Bowman Lusambo do? Bowman Lusambo caused the vacant because there was evidence, there was corruption that was going on in Kabushi. There was corruption that was going on in Kabushi, and it was difficult for the opposition to operate in there. And again, that is against the law of Zambia. And it's against electrical code. So once that was proved, and once people complained about that, and people talked about their experiences, because it was nullified. He caused the nullification. He caused the seats to be vacant. This whole debate is going to go on and go on and go on and go on. Listen, sometimes you read things. You read things and what they say, and they tell you exactly what they say. They tell you exactly what they say. He caused a vacancy. And in the case of Mr. Malanji, you caused a vacancy. So now, whether you produce your grade 12 certificate or not, because when you had the second hearing, okay, Mr. Malanji, there was a hearing. There was a first hearing where your seat was nullified, okay? Then you appealed. Then there was a second hearing. So on two occasions, Mr. Malanji had two chances to prove that he had a higher education certificate. On two occasions, Mr. Malanji had a chance to prove that he had a higher education certificate. And on two occasions, he didn't. So why is he then dragging ECZ back to court for the third time? Why is he then dragging ECZ back to court for the third time? When on the first time, when he was nullified, on the second time, if I'm going for the second time, you know the thing I would have looked for before I went to court? The higher education certificate. Sometimes, ubukopo. If you, it's confusion. You know, in the time when we were supposed to be looking at development and changing our lives and looking at how we can improve the things that were destroyed in the last 10 years, what are we talking about? We're talking about Bowman. Okay, Bowman. He was asked once, he was being interviewed on movie TV, and I always say to Zambians, don't forget what these people say. Don't forget what these people say. Don't forget what these people have done. He was asked the question by an interview by the reporter, say, in what law are you going to do that? And Bowman Lusambo, in his own words, said, the law within myself. Okay, he didn't say the law that has been created by the people of Zambia, this law, this article, quote this article. He said the law within myself, because he thought he was untouchable, because he think he could do everything that they wanted. They thought they could just walk around and do everything that they wanted, and nobody would be able to touch them. He had the law within himself. He thought he was a law. So, you caused the nullification, both of you. You are wasting our time. We are looking at trying to develop our country. You are stopping progress. The people who are suffering are the people in Kabushi, are the people in Kwacha. All those people in Kabushi who are lining the street and going and cheer Bowman, and the people are saying, oh, people are saying, oh, if Bowman is not elected, we might as well not have an MP in Kabushi. Mukafone nsala. Mwebantu mukala chula. Ngata mwakaleke obukopo ubu. Mukala chula. Bowman Lusambo abana bakwe bakasambilira. Bowman Lusambo abana bakwe baleria bwino kunganda. Bowman Lusambo abana bakwe limbi bana private school. Nga bapushe skulu limbi bakaina mukusambira ku kyalo. Imwena amwikala mu musebo ati kuno Bowman nga taliipo tatulefwaya wombi ukaba MP. Ati Bowman nga tamuvotere, but Bowman nga tabamuvotere, then the people of Kabushi would rather there's no MP. What craziness is that? Seriously, what craziness is that? Bowman Lusambo alikuwa tendalama. Bowman Lusambo alaria bwino. Bowman Lusambo alikala bwino. Ero aisa munshira, aisa nkusenda abana benu ati tieni. Mwani mwone chichinta ngombe asendere. It was like the entirety of Kabushi was there. Mwe bantu bandi. Mwe bena Zambia umfweni. Aba bantu vekele panchen de vekele pantunufwe botu ababikilepo. Ero abantu ngatabare bombo mulimo twababikilepo. Kubebat imwe kabieni tulefwaya ko umbi ukabomba inchito tulefwaya abombe. Ba Bowman Lusambo na ba Malanji mwali babikilepo. Mwali batere umulimo. Pantu Muzambia limo tulalava. Umuntu ngaba politician, umuntu ngaba MP, we start praising them. We start singing their praises. We don't question everything they do. Twala batinfwebo twaba bikilepo. Na bena pantu tubapera fyo muchinshi lyonse. Na bena balava atinfwebo twaba bikilepo. Kula beba bantu atinfwebo twa kubikilepo. Sontapo opwabombele. Imyaka shonse shiba Bowman Lusambo bali ba MP Kabushi. Mwe bantu mwe ba Kabushi. Mukasonte pwati nifi ba bombele nifi ba letere ku Kabushi. Notukula imbafi mu musebo. Ine nali patefi ama politician nga balende mu musebo bonse abantu bambo kushana bamba no kwimba. Awe. nimwe bumwe bikirepo bena bali kwata omulimo wa kumubombera tekweba ati mumwaya mu musebo mwankuba abashanina tekweba ati mwaya mu musebo mwankula abashanina nga basamye bati omuntu naiba nga tulera ndat abantu abeena boman n'abanankwe nga tulera ndat baliibira ekyalo tulera ndat baliibira imwe abakabushi baliibira development imwe abakabushi n'endalama esho kyalefuwa ekikati kikeesi ku kabushi beena balirya n'aba naabo na pano pene tulera nda kwaliba endalama esho tabasanga pantu balifisa nga mwasala omuntu ati uyu muntu ni MP uyo omuntu tekweba ati abanilesa wenu uyo muntu mubonfi wenu afuire kulabombera imwe afuire kulabombera abantu bonse afuire akalabombera abantu bonse pantu obwafye twakwata omuntu aisa kupelako 50 kwacha asa kupelako 200 kwacha iwe mwamba n'okumulumba elo abwera na kabiri imyenshi shapita ngabwera na kabiri asa mipelako na imbi 100 pini mumwatemwa pantu tamwaishi bati nga mwakwata omubomfi ule mubombera bwino nga mwakwata omubomfi ule mubombera bwino mukakwata ama 100 kwacha yengi mukakwata ukuchira ifyo ale emipela omubomfi bwenu lyonse ngaisa asamyeba ko 100 pin na 100 pin omubomfi ule ekitefyo ali emyeba tinshilebomba shilebomba omulimo omwampere but iye nalampere 100 kwacha pantu defa emishite so bakabushi nga mwaya mukuingira nga mwaya mukushana mu musebo mwaya mukuimba ati boma ningatalipo muleibukisha bushe lulya abana benu lulya amafamilies benu balenwa omuti wabula balenwa omuti wachita expire umuntu ati aye ku cancer treatment kanshi bamupera fye omuti wachita expire bushe boma ali milandirako lulya baile tweba tubashita ama fire trucks up 1 million each ayali 42 million US dollars spent on fire trucks nish abantu balefwa n'ensala bushe Bowman Lusambo ali milandirako bushe Bowman Lusambo ali landat awe date to tona olendala meshi pantu abantu abana bandika bushe balefwa n'ensala bushe Bowman ali milandirako Lidiano yonse fye kwali amagasings bushe Bowman ali milandirako nomba inemu ipisheko Chinshi imwe mfuila kwati. Ninshi imwe. Why do you feel that you have to speak on his behalf? When the people of Zambia when the people of Kabushi needed someone to speak up, when people needed someone to speak up, tabala andilepo. Nomba imwe ninshi mfuila kwati. Ninchto yenu yakweba tumwamu kubalandirako nisha abana bendu balefwa mu kipatala nishu balenwa omuti wa Taxpayer boma ntamilandireko gama nishi muleya mulandirako batila sonta opo wawomba sonta opo wombele namwe bakabushi nga mwaima nga mwamukusapota nenga masanje bat iwasalikita wishi bafolelanda boma nali bomba ali kulefi ali chitenefi inenke myama boko nkamye bat akamusapoten panto abantu bakabushi tabalerila mu PF abantu bakabushi tabalerila mu PF bena fu bayishire kuchitafe kabushi bayishire kulila market ya kabushi ya pile bushe mu bonfi wa musangonshi ine pano pene ine pempelele usha konfwe pa fi no na pa fingi ta konfwe ukta konfwe pa fi no na pa fingi ta konfwe. So in all that we do let's stop the confusion. Mr. Malanji had 2 chances to produce his grade 12 his higher education certificate. He had 2 chances and he couldn't produce one. And he argues that if he used the same papers in 2016, he should have been allowed to use them this time round again. Well, mwali chinje funde. So the debacle. So the debacle in the PF continues. On another strand, anyway, war given Luvinda, where's the Kai? He's gone quiet. Oh, somebody's just taking a mick out of my Bemba. There's just people just thinking, hey, leave me alone with my Bemba, okay? Oh, I have lost my bro with Bemba accent. Oh, anyway, won't give an Arinda Waizikai. He's gone quiet. What's actually happening in the PF? When is your convention happening? You're not supposed to choose a new leader. What's going on there? Maybe you should try and focus on that front before you cause so much confusion in our country. Oh my. So the drama continues with Patriotic Front. For you who don't know, Mr. Joseph Malanji, as my friend Dr. Elias would call him, Mr. Helicopter. Mr. Helicopter has filed in his has appealed. So as Mr. Bowman Mwisho Lusambo as well. He has also appealed. So obviously that's going to drag on a little bit, and that means the people of Kawushi and the people of Kwacha will not have an MP in the next few weeks. And again, it's the people who suffer. These people, Bowman Lusambo says he's got business and successful businesses. Why doesn't he just go and work on his business if he's doing well? My thoughts? Anyway. Oh, naikosa lelo. So, in other words, They created a law. The law that they created to trap others has trapped them today. And they have gone to court to appeal against the law that they created. Eh? They have gone to court to appeal against the law that they created. It's almost like I make a law. Okay, I make a law. I make a law and then things don't go well, so I appeal against the law. I remember when we were young and we were playing football. Whoever owned the football could not lose a game. I remember it was like everyone playing with my ball and we're losing the game. Now send the baller. It's finished. It's finished because the rules were supposed to be mine. I think it's a lesson. When we create any form of legislation, when we create any form of laws in our countries, these laws are supposed to be there to serve our people. They're not there to serve our own interests. A democracy should always look at what does this law mean for our people, because this law was not just created to frustrate the UPND. This law was created to frustrate the people of Zambia, because if they had their own way, they could have been doing things that they wanted to do. Okay, they could have been doing things that they wanted to do. They could have had, with Bill 10, they could have been ruling forever. And what could have happened with the ruling of the grade 12 certificates is there are people without grade 12 certificates, i.e. Joseph Malanji, Tulangen grade 12 certificate by Malanji, Tulelo. Grade 12, them could have stood because the people in ECZ would have been their people. The people in all the concords would have been their people. So they would have. People could have got away with it. We saw Dr. Chitaru Chilufya get away with the honeybee scandal because he was dealt by their own. So that's the thing that they wanted, to have people, their own people, to deal with everything. Now, what has happened after the election is they don't have their own people. Now they're appealing. They're appealing against the law that they created. Really, the question is, Mr. Lusambo, weren't you there when this law was created? Mr. Malanji, weren't you there when this law was created to say you need a grade 12 certificate? Why didn't you go home and say, I need to find my grade 12 certificate? You're all there. Or is it because all of you, you're so focused on the money that you're getting in the government, you do not care what you are signing? Eh? You did not care what you were signing. Wow. Anyway, so it's the end of the week. The drama has continued. They have appealed. So that's going to drag on. There's going to be a 7-day, there's going to be a 7-day, 7-day period where they look at the papers. And again, there's going to be a 21 period before the decision is made. And that just means the people of Kabushi and Kwacha will not have an MP for a number of weeks. Anyway, so that is just to let you know the confusion has also continued. So the confusion has continues. But in Ndepusha, Volvinda Muizikai, what given Mulvinda Muizikai, Amazi Yachilamo. Amazi Yachilamo. The PF, when is your convention? Who's going to be a leader? Maybe focus on PF matters and leave us out of this confusion. Anyway, this has been Frank Seliki from TV Bakwetu saying, God bless you, God bless our country, and we shall see you very soon.